Welcome to Voices from the Bench, a dental laboratory podcast. Send us an email at info@voicesfromthebench.com or look for us on Facebook at Voices from the Bench. Greetings and welcome to Voices from the Bench. My name is Elvis.
And my name is Barbara. Greetings and welcome to episode, what number is it?
We are at episode number 56, believe it or not.
Well, 6 is my lucky number, so this is going to be a great episode. I'm so excited to launch it with you. How's everybody doing? Hope you had a good Easter.
This week we are joined by a good friend of ours, Herb Baird from Ivoclar Vivadent. Herb has been in this industry as both a technician and a vendor for many years. I don't want to make him sound old, but there's a lot of years there.
Yeah, we don't make him long. We don't want to do that to anybody around here.
He has been part of the Ivoclar Vivadent team for a lot of years, and I don't think they would be where they are today without him.
Aww.
We had a chance to sit down with Herb while we were at the DLAT Conference in Texas. Herb has a ton of stories to share of his travels, but this time he kind of talks about the early days of the aesthetic revolution and what Ivoclar Vivadent is trying to do to improve the restorations and the role of the dental technician. Join us as we talk to Herb Baird from Ivoclar Vivadent. Do you want to find out why labs across the U.S. are choosing open implants? The system of prosthetic components that was designed by dental technicians for dental technicians?
Yay, us! Just saying. It's compatible with top implant systems and manufactured in the U.S. Open Implants offers a 10 millimeter tall titanium base that you can customize to 5 different heights to maximize the height for the restoration. Supported by libraries for Exocad and 3Shape, which we all use, just saying, for each height option. You can do more in-house with a 10 millimeter tall tie base. You can order just one part and have 5 height options. You can do more screw retain cases with engaging and non-engaging tie bases. You can turn cases around faster, outsource less, and increase your profitability.
Open Implants has FDA 510K clearance and a warranty for the original implants. Now you can do more with Open Implants, components involved for today's digital world. Visit openimplants.com/voices for more information. Or give them a call at 1-888-800-8369. And for 10% off your first purchase, use code VOICES10. That's openimplants.com/voices and use code VOICES10. Voices from the Bench. The interview. So we are here, DLAT 2019.
With the one and only.
Joining us again, Herb Baird from Ivoclar Vivadent. How are you, sir? We talked to you at Lab Day Chicago, and here you are in Texas.
We did talk to you. So you get around a whole heck of a lot. How much do you travel?
Well, if you'd asked that question a few weeks ago, I would have said not too much. But
it's the season, right?
So now I'm actually managing the East and the Central again, so here we go again. So I am traveling a little bit.
Yeah.
So when you say a little bit, is that like once a month?
No. I would say probably 3 to 4 trips a month.
Wow.
And I've been here in Dallas for the past 4 days and actually lived here for 20 years. And so I'm within, like I said earlier, about 3 miles from where I once lived. And so it's great to be back to see a lot of the lab owners in the area that I've known for a long time, and brings back a lot of memories.
That's kind of special. I didn't know that.
Yep.
This is my first Texas meeting, and they invited us here, and hopefully we'll be back every year because I actually love it here. It's a great meeting, beautiful hotel, a lot of people.
Yeah.
They said it's almost twice as much as they had last year.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
And it used to be a very viable meeting, and they're working diligently to
get it back?
To get it back and get speakers in, and so hopefully they'll continue to grow.
So tell us about your background. How did you get into the industry?
Well, to make a long story short, I went to lab school there in Atlanta, Georgia, and while I was going to lab school, I actually worked in the lab, and then once I finished in Atlanta, I moved back to Alabama and worked in labs in Birmingham and close to Huntsville, and decided to go back to college and get my business degree. So I worked full-time in the lab, went to school full-time, and once I finished that up, I decided to get work for the corporate side of dentistry, and went to work for J.F. Jelenko in 1980.
J.F. Jelenko. There's a name from the past. My father used to use Jelenko. That was all the alloy company at the time. That's all they used. So.
Yeah, and back then, alloy had, in 79, it had gotten over $1,000 an ounce, and it really had an impact on the industry. And so when I walked into J.F. Jelenko in the day, they had a room, I don't know, it was about 15 by 20, and it was just stacked full of gold watches and jewelry and silverware. Everyone was selling everything to try to capture
get some cash out of it.
Yep. So at that time, we did a lot of non-precious because people couldn't. There was a lot of price pressure even back then to do non-precious, and I can remember the days of trying to use chrome cobalt and having coefficient issues and fractures with porcelain. It was a trying time back then using non-precious.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was not the non-metal alternative. Is that why?
Not like there is today.
Yeah.
Right.
That was it.
Yeah.
PFMs were pretty much it.
Yep, the PFM was it, and then probably the first all-ceramic material was Dicor.
Dicor, yeah.
And even back then, the big deal was to try to get the proper preps and get the shoulder and chamfer margins, and it really can make a product or kill a product. And so Dicor was the first phase of all ceramics, and then Emax came along later in 1989, and that was really when the aesthetic revolution was taking off. Dentistry was really changing, and the labs had the opportunity to drive better aesthetics. They had the skills and the ability and to help doctors drive the aesthetics unlike any time before.
Yeah.
So we saw the prices in the industry change, and there was a lot of mediocrity when I was doing it in the 70s. Every lab, everything looked kind of the same, and then all of a sudden we had all these European clinicians showing up and Asian clinicians showing up and people standing in line to listen to these people, and it took 2 decades and things changed, and life was good. And unfortunately, I think the past few years we've kind of gone back a bit in our industry, competing on price and
monolithic.
Bummer.
Yeah. And so anyway, I've been in the industry a long time. I worked after Jelenko. I worked for a company called Productivity Training Corporation, PTC, in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then I worked for.
That's what PTC means.
Yeah. And so then I think that was probably my greatest experience in working with some really sharp people and getting into various labs all over the country, learning what made labs big labs and little labs little and big and vice versa. And it's just a lot of sharp people, shared a lot of information. And then I was with Dentsupply from 1990 to 98, and then I've been with Ivoclar now for 20 years. And
how'd you get with Ivoclar?
They actually had me come in as a consultant talking about the removable part of the business, the sector, how to really get into that part of the business. And
because they weren't before?
Well, they were, but they were huge global wise, other than the North American market, and struggled to get into the North American market. And so they wanted to try to capture that part of the segment of the market. And so the next thing I know, I was actually working for them. And so that started in 1999, and
That was right when Empress and everything was taken off, wasn't it? Or am I
yeah,
was it earlier than
well,
that?
Empress actually took off in 1989.
Okay,
and
10
then,
years.
Yep,
Wow.
and then Emax came around.
Did you lose a decade
2005.
there?
Yeah.
I don't know what I was smoking, but something obviously good that is 10 years forward.
Yeah. Well, time flies and when you're having fun. And so Emax wasn't until actually 2005. But the fact that I was with Ivoclar, the 20 years, it's been a great ride. Probably my most enjoyable part of the experience is working with some really sharp folks that we went into the dental schools, and we went after the dental school business, the government business, and as I mentioned in Chicago, the schools were really having a difficult time teaching removable and putting a lot of the emphasis where the lab was having to come back and try to support the dentist, and the dentists just weren't really learning the removable as they once in previous years. So we created a curriculum. I got to work with Dr. John Bumer and Dr. Amatis at UCLA and created an academic program in DVD, and it was a time when most professors were using the old Kodak carousel. So
Kodak. My mom used to work for Kodak.
in Syracuse? Was it Syracuse? Yeah.
Yep. That's a name from the past, too.
Yeah. So when I'd go into these doctors' office, or these professors' offices in the universities, they had a little room office that's probably about the size of a bathroom, and 3/4 of the room was taken up by Kodak carousels, and probably about 200 boxes of Kodak carousels. And so I walked in with a DVD that actually consumed all those Kodak carousels, and we were able to show them a better way to teach and train and teach removable. So that after that took place in 2010, at that time I had 46 out of 55 schools working with us in preclinical and clinical.
That's pretty amazing.
And then today there's 51 out of 56
Wow.
that work with us on it. So
Wow.
education was very important. And the reason I bring that up is a doctor's competency is a direct correlation of what they're willing to pay a lab fee. So you have to really invest in your dentist and helping them be really good partners and vice versa. And with that said, these educational programs, we were trying to address a lot of the problems, bad impressions and bites and the communication, this, that, and the other, to help drive the aesthetic revolution in removable, just as we did in Crown and Bridge with all ceramics, as we talked about in the 80s and the 90s. And so that was the objective I had in running.
Well, it sounds like you nailed it.
Well, you would think, Barb, and one thing that I will share with you, like in 2005, I could ask the question, whether it were your laboratory, any lab, what percentage of your business is premium, and I would get answers like, well, about 70%, 80%, 7 or 8 cases out of 10 are premium. And today, when I ask that question, I'm saddened to hear things like 20% premium and 80% economy.
Yep.
So I think our industry's changed a lot from 2009, 2010 is when a lot of this changed. If you remember, when elective dentistry was down 25% and the price sensitivity really kicked in, and actually removable has taken a harder hit on it. And so
that surprises me that you say removable's taken a harder hit, because I was thinking that would be one of the areas that would grow, because you're getting more patients that need removables, and that you would think that they would want the higher, better removable. So I haven't heard that as of yet.
Well, in 1992, I did a presentation on the demographics of where removable dentistry was going, and in 2010 it would peak, the two markets would peak, and it's one of the biggest growing opportunities in the market. And but the problem is, with the lack of emphasis on removable when it's taught in dental schools and the corporate dentistry involved with some of the larger groups, it's all about how inexpensive you can make the prosthesis and so forth. And so with those competitors in the market, it's driven the price down to general practitioners in private practice.
Yeah.
And so it's rather than fighting the battle, and a lot of labs just, kind of caved into those prices. And so, really education, it gets back to education, investing in your doctors and educating them and trying to help them feel more confident in doing removable.
So I was going to ask, that's one thing, and how does a company like Ivoclar try to counteract that? Because I've heard, I've been at many lectures, and I know that your company is really pro, hey, let's not be the race to the bottom, let's be the race to the top, and let's keep the prices high. Do you guys have any marketing? I mean, how do you help the industry? Because I know that you do.
Well, and we did a great job in the fixed area. We did a lot of lectures. We went to key leaders that lectured across the United States on aesthetics and fixed with Emax and Empress and so forth, and drove that. And so we tried to do the same thing in removable. And the other thing is I hired some really sharp people that went out and lectured. We would actually go into laboratories and we would say, hey, get all your doctors together. We'll do a program and let's spend 3 to 4 months promoting the lecture and so forth, and bring your doctors in. So I'd have various people like Don Yancey's lecture or Rick Rout.
Great.
And then that worked really well in driving the market in 2008. And until the economy kind of stagnated at that point. And then we moved on and Rick down to Sarasota, just below you.
Yep.
They run the education center down there. So we've gone back and we support a lot of the universities. We bring in the professors from various universities where we bring them in a room together to try to get a consensus how to teach removable better, more effectively in the university. So we have probably 10 to 12 universities come in every year at Sarasota.
Excellent.
And with their graduate programs and so forth. But the other thing that I'm looking at doing, and hopefully Ivoclar does, is to create I'm creating an online educational system. So like Barb, I'd come into you and say, okay, let's do a lecture, get your doctors interested. You get 50 doctors in there, and then we have an online program that lasts for 45 days where they take a patient and we assign them 18 assignments. They work with us online with webinars, some pods, and we take them through the treatment plans and the assignments in over 45 days, and then really help them understand how to do removable. Why that's important is we move from analog today into digital, is that, if I were talking to you about digital, if you're having issues with your doctors to try to do analog, if they're not taking good impressions or bites or communicating and writing good prescriptions, it's going to make it very difficult for digital to work for you, because it's whatever's in and you get out. So it's all about the proper information. So with digital, you really have to have good impressions. You have to have good bites and good data going into it, because of the material cost. You're looking probably $150, per arch in material cost, and then the capital investment. So your remakes is unacceptable. So but you could print your try-in and reconfirm everything, your midlines and smile lines and turn of the arches and so forth, and then go to final CAD, and then that would prevent your remake factors.
And what are you thinking, digital dentures? Is that on its way? I mean, I know we're dabbling in it. How is it doing for Ivoclar? Are you guys moving in a forward direction? Are people responding to it? Do they like it?
At the IDT meeting in Phoenix most recently, in the fourth quarter of last year, I was a little shocked. The excitement was more towards printing than the digital denture, and I stood back and watched the excitement, and with mixed emotions, because printing, the materials aren't there. I mean, you don't have the materials that they have the resiliency and the strength to handle.
Yeah, a lot of people mention how brittle they are.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
And so you really can't afford to jeopardize your relationships with your doctors and rescheduling, having the patient come back in, or the first time they drop the denture in the sink, it breaks and this, that, and the other.
But then you could just print another one, though. That's their philosophy.
That's the philosophy.
Yeah.
But if you were a patient and you got to take off another day, or get a babysitter, or maybe it's not a babysitter, maybe it's you got to get someone to take care of your spouse while you're, if you're an elder person, and it's not easy for the elder sometimes to get to these offices, and it's an inconvenience, and you lose the confidence of your doctors. And I just caution people with the materials and printing materials, and but with the CAD technology, we're talking about high-end, high-quality restorations with the aesthetics.
I've seen Ivoclar's CAD technology, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
I will acknowledge that for sure.
So what you're offering a patient is, do they want a denture that looks like a denture, where you can say, hey, you're wearing a denture, or do you want or do you want a denture that people can't tell that's a denture? I mean, you want those kind of aesthetics. So that's really what the digital is. It's the higher end. It's the implant cases. If you're doing a $30,000-$40,000 treatment plan with implants, as you see advertised on TV, you don't want it to look like a denture. You want it to look, like a zirconia or Emax case, and that's what you can do with the digital.
That's what you guys are doing, for sure. I've seen them, and they're beautiful.
Absolutely.
I know you have that young lady. What's her name that she does for your marketing?
Christy.
Name? Oh, yeah. She is beautiful, and her smile's beautiful. I think she's a great candidate for you guys with marketing, because it's just amazing what her story is, what she looks like, how her smile is. So.
The interesting thing about her, we found her, Grace Garrity actually found her online. She had her own following on Facebook. She had 500,000 followers. And we reached out to her, and she was only early 20s, and a beautiful lady, and she had won this treatment plan in Las Vegas, where they went in and did the implants and the prosthesis and so forth. And as we looked at it, the prosthesis was very translucent, and you could see the implants metal behind, and the smile line, and the classification of the bite was incorrect. And so Don Yancey, one of the doctors there at the University of Florida, went in and did complete reconstruction. She had some tissue issues, irritations from the improper way the case was designed. So we cleaned all that up and made a new case for her, and brought her back to life. And
awesome.
and
you did.
Yeah, and it was just absolutely fantastic. And I got to tell you, when she spoke in Chicago, I'm back in the room, teary-eyed, because
exactly.
she was sharing the passion that I have towards removable and the message.
She ties all of the motion and the message together into her life story and what you guys have been able to do for her, and how beautiful her smile is. And
exactly.
I've heard
now
her
I want to
speak.
see her.
Right. Exactly.
So with Ivoclar Vivadent, what exactly does Ivoclar Vivident mean? You hear the words.
Well,
no one knows.
I kind of laugh because some people say Ivoclar instead of Ivoclar, so I get mixed. I'm not sure how to respond sometimes to it, but I even hear some of the Europeans say Ivoclar. So anyway.
Is it Ivoclar?
Yes.
Well, if you're down south, it's definitely Ivoclar. I'm not sure if you go to Europe, it's
Ivoclar.
Ivoclar.
But anyway, the Ivoclar stands for ivory clarity is what it stands for, and the Vivadent stands for living dentition. And so that's how the name was established. And the company actually started back after World War II. It was with the Ram Tooth Company.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Ram?
Yep,
Tooth.
and that was a removable, selling denture teeth. And
Were they porcelain? What was it back then? I don't know.
You're probably right. I haven't really thought about that, but it had to be porcelain, because shortly after that, I believe it was Dr. Snyder. He moved from Germany to Liechtenstein, started the company. They teamed up with HD Just Eye out of Philadelphia, and the Sotomer Company, which was spelled Sartomer, that were very involved in making resin teeth. So the resin teeth didn't really come into the picture until the late 40s, and so anyway, the resin teeth started taking off. They were the first generation of PMMA materials that they didn't have a lot of longevity to them, but people were looking for something less expensive, and so the HD Just Eye in Philadelphia, we teamed up with those folks, and then Williams Go Company bought the HD Just Eye, and the old Pyroplast resins. Barb, I don't know if you remember that material.
No, I don't.
Well, then that's good, because that means you're younger than me. So those were resin teeth that we would actually flask. We'd do veneers, and they were made out of old Pyroplast, and you'd have to flask those teeth.
Really?
So when I was in school, that's what we had to learn how to make the Pyroplast veneers and plastic, and that was before the all ceramics. And then you had the steel facings that were vacuum fired that we'd make as well. So anyway, then that was later sold from Williams Go Company to the American Tooth Company, and and then Ivoclar and Williams Gold Company came together, and so that's how all that arrived
Williams
today.
Gold, my father's first partner, Al Chevalier. That's where he worked in Detroit, Michigan for Williams Gold. How crazy is that?
Right. And
you're bringing back all kinds of names for me.
Yeah, and Williams Gold Company actually started in the gold rush, and they found still today was the largest gold nugget that we still have in our gold refinery department. It's
kind of up there in a glass cage or a glass cage.
The biggest nugget ever found.
Right. It's
cool.
like over 2 pounds or so.
Wow.
It's bigger than both of my fists put together.
You haven't cashed that in yet?
Well, they won't let me in that department for obvious reasons. So that's the only reason we still have it. But no, that's the story. It started, and then the company actually ended up being in Kansas City, and then went from Kansas City to Buffalo.
Cool. Buffalo, and that's where you guys are today.
That's where the home office is
Yep.
in the North America, is in Amherst, right outside of Buffalo.
I've been there before. It's an amazing location. They do wonderful things there. They've had me there for a couple courses, and
there used to be a motorcycle
beautiful.
there, but
Yeah.
it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and with the
LeJean has it. Damn it.
Yeah. I was surprised. If I'd known, actually the tickets were bought for his son, and I said, "Well, gosh, I had 2 kids. I could have bought." But after my 2 motorcycle wrecks, I'm not allowed to ride. So anyway, we donated that to the NADL meeting, and I think they made about $14,000-15,000.
Yeah.
20. Over 20.
To over
Yeah.
$20,000 on the
It's amazing.
drive. So I was glad to hear that.
So for those of you that can't see Herb here, he's got these awesome socks with these beautiful flowers on them. I'm
Those are
admiring
actually
your
my
socks.
wife. They're actually my wife's socks.
You're really going to tell the folks that?
No, I was only joking.
Oh,
I love them. I love a man with cool socks. What do your socks look like? Oh, look, we have polka dots on
Polka
Elvis.
dots.
That's pretty cool. So it's
this is
kind
not
of fun.
good podcast material. by
It's
the way.
excellent podcast material because they can't see us, but I can see you. So I just wanted to add that. You can delete it if you want to, but I love your socks, Herb.
Well, thank you. I got those in Biloxi in
They're cool.
2017, so I saved them just for today.
And they haven't
Sweet.
been washed since.
And
Oh.
they're all springy. I
Yeah,
love them.
yeah.
So there's my 2 cents, gentlemen.
So, kind of wrapping things up, I think, today we've got to go back to what made us very successful with the aesthetic revolution and get back to education and support and working with those companies that invest back into the market and help the doctors become better at what they do and more predictable and try to get away from some of the pressure points that take out a lot of the fun that's in the industry. It's great when you get to do great cases with great people and with great results, and so that's my 2 cents.
Well, your new zirconia that launched in Chicago.
Yeah.
Prime?
Prime was launched in Chicago, and
That's pretty impressive stuff.
It really is. It's a material that's going to be over 1,200 megapascals, and you'll be able to do bridges with it. We're advocating that it's almost as beautiful as Emax, the interior. At the FDLA meeting coming up 1st of May, we got Nelson Rigo speaking down in Florida on that particular product. That product will be available in May. And
Good timing, because Elvis and I will be there. We can maybe interview him and you again. Sweet.
Yeah. So we're looking very forward to that launch, and we're hoping that that'll help laboratories, go back and justify a fee for service that's more profitable, with greater aesthetics and greater results and greater strength.
Do you guys have a price on that puck yet?
I don't have a specific price on it, and
I love how he's trying to get early information out of you.
Well,
Don't disclose on the podcast.
Yeah,
we have a few listeners.
You've heard it here first.
Yeah, I'm going to stay away from that because
Yeah.
I've learned and don't say anything about price until it's in ink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah.
Because they'll quote you on it.
Well, then
That's
I have
for
to ask,
sure.
is it really going to come out in May, or is it going to be one of those famous next fall.
That's a good point. You've been following. Well, I got to be careful with what.
Yes, I was just going to say you got to delete that period.
Right.
No, we don't want that.
Yeah, it will be here next month.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Excellent.
Well, we look forward to it because at night I'm definitely going to
We're going to look
purchase
at
it, use it, and probably sell it as a higher end CAC product, which is our higher end comprehensive aesthetics product. So, looking forward to it.
Yep.
I'm on board.
Yep, absolutely. I appreciate it, and hopefully we won't disappoint you. I hope it's as great as we advocate, and I'm sure it will be. We put a lot of time and effort behind it, and we've had several key people experiment with the material to validate and give us some positive feedback here in North America. Every time we come out with a product, we always involve our North American laboratories before we do a launch to just make sure that it is what we say it is.
Awesome. And we know that about your company. It's the real deal, so we look forward to it. So thank you for coming on with us.
You bet. Thank you for the opportunity, and gosh, let's have a great meeting here.
Yes, let's do it.
Dinner tonight. I'm excited.
Yeah,
absolutely. Let's do Joe T. Garcia's in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah,
Fort Worth, Texas. I didn't bring my boots. Did you bring your boots?
We'll go get you some boots.
Yeah, we can go shopping. I'm always good. I'm always good for shopping.
We'll go down to Cowtown. How's that?
Cowtown.
All right, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You bet. Bye-bye.
A big thanks to Herb for joining us in Texas at the DLAT meeting. We also recorded him in Chicago at Lab Day, so you'll get to hear him again sometime real soon. I tell you, this guy gets around. So make sure you head over to this episode's webpage to see a picture of the now famous socks that Herb's had on during the interview.
Oh, you took a picture of the socks? I'm so happy because it's Easter weekend. We're launching this on Monday. Herb's socks reminded me of flowers in Easter and spring. They're cool. Even for a guy, they're cool.
Yeah, they are going to be a classic now.
Yep. Agreed.
If you're not already using something from Ivoclar in your lab, I tell you, you're missing out. Make sure you go check them out at ivoclarvivadent.us. So we are just a little over 2 weeks from the FDLA Symposium in Orlando, Florida, May 9th to the 11th. We will be there recording in the exhibit hall right next to the FDLA booth. Stop by, say hello, sit down, record with us. We love chatting with anyone in our industry. Check out this episode's show notes for a link to all the great content this event has to offer and a link to register.
And as you guys know, I'm in Florida. That's my home base. So please come by and say hi. And sit down and chat. And Elvis will agree. I'm the one that's going to rope your ass in. So come by and say hi. Let us know what you do and how you do it and how you love our industry.
So, Barb, this August
Yes.
is the Race to the Future Triathlon to raise money for the Foundation of Dental Laboratory Technology.
Okay.
I do believe you are signing up for the full international to do yourself, right?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Who's asking, you or the industry? Because I always do the sprint. And the international is a mile swim, which scares me to death. And then it's a 25-mile bike and a 6-mile run, both of which I can do. But a mile swim, I'm a little timid on. So I'm not going to confirm nor deny, but I'm definitely doing the sprint, which is a half a mile swim, which I can totally do. But people kick you in the head. God, that sucks when you get kicked in the head. Just saying, for all you out there that might be interested, gets kicked. Kicked in the head, it's not fun.
In and out of the water, it is not fun to get kicked in the head.
But yeah, why do you ask? Are you throwing me a bone?
No, I'm asking because I recently got asked to be on a team. So if you remember 2 years ago, I fell and broke my collarbone.
Oh, yeah. How could I forget?
Last year, I wasn't up for it, but this year, I have teamed up with Sean Nowak from Nowak Dental Supplies. He's going to be on the bike. Stuart Steinbach from Carbon will be swimming on our team. And, of course, I'll be doing the running.
Say that again? Who? Oh, my God. That's so cool. So you're on an amazing team. You guys are probably coming 1, 2, or 3 easily. Bitch.
Now, I hope you're okay with this.
No.
But we have decided to name our team Voices from the Bench. Are you okay with this?
It should be Voices from the Beach. Whatever you guys are comfortable with. I would just like to say, do not go against me in fundraising because I will beat your ass. Just saying. That's like 4 bleeps in a row. I'm sorry, folks. It's Friday. It's been a stressful week. Sometimes just throwing down a cuss word makes me feel less stressful. So sorry.
So I'm sorry that you're not on the Voices from the Bench team, but you will be there in spirit.
Dude, I'm going to be there, and I'll guarantee you, if you guys are doing the sprint, my time will beat yours.
We're doing the
You
international.
can put that in there. Oh, of course. Is that why you laid down the challenge? Because you wanted to beat the girl? Because you're not going to beat the girl. Just saying.
I didn't want to go to Chicago to only run 3 miles. So.
You know what? That's actually very intelligent, because 3 miles to you and I is not too much. So good for you. And good for your team. I wish you well.
Yeah, so thank you.
Nature is showing right now. My horns are coming out, but I'm sorry. I wish you guys well.
That's fine. Just make sure that all money goes towards Team Voices from the Bench.
I just want you to buy me a shirt, Elvis. I need a Voices from the Bench shirt. I like putting it online. We got to get me another one. I don't know what I did with it, but I miss it.
Funny that you should ask.
Funny hard or funny?
Funny, because we are bringing back the Voices from the Bench shirts, where all the profits go to the Foundation of Dental Lab Technology. We did this last summer pretty successfully, so we're going to do it again. But instead of just t-shirts, this time we have women-fitted shirts, long-sleeve, football-style jerseys, hoodies, tank tops.
Wow.
For any of those brave enough to wear a tank top.
So when is this launching, my friend? And that was not, just so you guys know, I did actually not know that when I mentioned that. And I do need a shirt. So when are we going to print?
The day this episode airs, we'll start a 20-day campaign. So the more shirts we can sell within a 20-day period, all profits will go towards the Foundation of Dental Lab Technology and maybe Team Voices from the Bench. But
and oh wait, and just like a good marriage, I just found out about this now, folks. Just saying. We're such good partners, because I'm just in the clouds and Elvis is the controller, which is so unlike me. But okay, I'll make sure I buy a shirt so that you can make money for your team, because
there you go.
Our industry, and I want to genuinely put as much money to the foundation as I can possibly, whether it's Voices from the Bench, whether it's Barbara, whether it's Sean, whether it's Stuart or you, Elvis. Let's do it.
Yeah, so I don't know. What are you, a hoodies girl or a tank top girl? What's more
tank
your
top?
Style?
I'm a Florida girl.
All right.
Hello.
There you go.
Got to show off the guns.
Oh. Nice.
That was a real laugh. I liked that. That was perfect.
Nice. All right, that's enough of that. So join us next week for an extended episode featuring some of the amazing interview we got at this year's LMT Lab Day Chicago. We will feature 3 wonderful interviews. If you want a hint, check out the latest issue of LMT Magazine. They have an article about us and Lab Day featuring one of the guests.
That's cool.
Yeah, thank you, LMT, for your support of the show.
I just want to let our listeners know that Elvis, who does all the editing, we did have a lot of editing to do from Chicago, and we do have a lot of really great interviews. So even though LMT was before Texas, and Texas is now this week's, we're still have some LMT interviews that were really awesome and that are going to be coming out. And even though it's 2 months later, please listen, because they're awesome.
No, next week's episode is going to be close to an hour long.
Cool.
Just to get everything out.
So those of you that are out exercising, listening to us, or working to us, we love you. We appreciate you. Call us, text us, email us. Let's get you on. Tell your story.
All right, everybody. Have a good one. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye. The Speedos were a huge hit in Texas.